The San Antonio City Council just a few days away from voting on a large budget for the city's next fiscal year. So to talk about that and what it means for you, we've got San Antonio Mayor Ron Nirenberg joining us for the KSAT Q&A. Mayor, always good to see you. We've talked so much with this budget about the idea of getting money back from CPS Energy because of a surplus from CPS that goes back to the city. This idea of rebates that we touched on earlier in this show, roughly $30 for the average customer. Where does that stand now? And I'm going to throw a two-parter at you here. So where does that stand now? But also, has there been another alternative really fleshed out so that when this vote happens, council members are voting on whether to give back money to customers or another very specific plan B?
Yeah, and let me first start by saying again, this is not surplus revenues at CPS. This is a result of the 14% dividend that the city receives as CPS revenues come in. As the CPS owner, the city receives 14% of revenue. So as the gas prices and high electric bills went up, there was more revenue into the city, and in this case, excess revenues. And so the city managers proposed a rebate going back to CPS customers, everybody. Depending on how much they spent, they'll get a portion of that back in the form of a one-time bill credit. I think that there is consensus beginning to form around the idea that we need to do that. I believe very strongly that customers deserve some relief as a result of these high bills, and I think there's consensus forming around that. To your question about has there been any alternatives put forward, there have been alternatives put forward, and I would again suggest that the alternatives that have been articulated are things that we're already doing, from tree canopy to heat island mitigation to building of resilience centers and weatherization. These are things that are funded. And if there is a demand for more capacity in each of those programs, the case has to be made first before we go and spend that money. In the meantime, people need relief, and I look forward to delivering that on Thursday. And again, just to keep in mind a perspective, this is roughly 1.5% of the city's budget. It's a $3.5 billion budget, and there's been a lot of oxygen spent on these last $50 million, roughly 42.5 when it comes to the rebate that will go back to CPS customers. But it's important, I think, that where we can provide relief, that we do so.
And I want to talk about some of those other things that are in the budget in a second. But my final question on the CPS Energy and the money that the council's deciding on, will this have any impact on future rate increases? I know that there was just a rate increase that was passed earlier this year. When you see that there's this much, that could go back potentially to customers, does this impact future rate hikes? Does it show that that CPS doesn't need future rate hikes? I mean, does it have any impact?
Well, it doesn't, because again, this is not money into CPS coffers. This is not a surplus at CPS. This is money that's as a result of high gas prices that CPS has to pay itself. But because their revenues received off of the bills to recoup those costs, the 14% dividend that goes back to the city has also gone up. And so that's the part that needs to be, I think, considered for relief for customers. The high energy costs, the high gas prices that are a result of a lot of different global factors and inflation, those will fluctuate. But CPS also bears those as expenses in order to generate the electricity that people use in their homes and that businesses use in their processes. So this is a little bit different. As it relates to going forward, CPS is a cost of service business. They should only be charging what it costs to maintain the infrastructure and to produce the electricity. And that's exactly what they will do going forward, as they have done for the 75 years that they've existed as a city-owned utility.
We'll see what happens with that vote here in the next coming days. Let's talk about some of the other things in that budget. Police and fire always make up a really significant portion of that and a big focus, rightly so.
Yes.
With the increase in awareness in the need for mental health services, there's something built in here when it comes to calling 911, looking for someone perhaps not to respond to any kind of crime, but to respond to a mental health concern. What's being looked at there with this budget?
I'm glad you asked, Myra, because you might remember that over the last 2 years, police departments all around the country have been examining how they can do things better, and public safety is the #1 job of the city government. During that process where we had a lot of town hall meetings, a lot of experts come and talk to us about different ways that we can augment public safety. One of the things that came out as a result was how we can augment dispatch services to ensure that if there are mental health calls, that we have the right folks answering those calls. And so part of a national effort to ensure that there's mental health emergency line access, as well as locally that we ensure that we have those experts on the line if there is an emergency call for mental health, we're adding those services into dispatch. I would also add that we are adding a significant number of uniform positions within the police department, the largest number that I've ever had or that I've ever seen since I've been here in City Hall. As well as 2 units for the fire department, a ladder unit and an EMS unit. So a big part of this year's budget that unfortunately has been overshadowed by a lot of the conversation we just had has been how we are boosting public safety for our community. That goes in line with a lot of other things that we're doing to come back to pre-pandemic levels with regard to infrastructure maintenance, streets, sidewalks, drainage, et cetera. So there's a lot of stuff going on in this budget to deliver the basic services that our residents expect.
Like you said, it's a lot more than just the CPS rebate that's been ballying back and forth.
And tax relief as well, a whole suite of tax relief, including a tax rate rollback, homestead increases, et cetera. So the CPS rebate is coupled with a number of different things that we're trying to do to provide relief to residents here in San Antonio.
All right, Mayor Ron Nirenberg will be following this vote on Friday, and of course we'll be breaking down what was approved when the time comes. Thanks for being here this evening.